What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Happy Sunday, everybody. I was waiting for this interview for a while because I'm also trying to speak to Dr. Julia Mosbridge, who is a visiting scholar at Northwestern University, fellow at the Institute of Noetic Sciences, science director at Focus Will Labs, and associated professor of integral and transpersonal psychology at the California Institute of Integral Studies. Her research primarily involves understanding how time is perceived by our unconscious and conscious minds, and it's secondarily related to authenticity and human interconnectivity. Dr. Mosbridge has a doctorate in communication sciences and disorders from Northwestern University and a master's degree in neuroscience from the University of California, San Francisco. She won the Charles Honerton Integrative Contributions Award. She's a co-author with Immense Barus in Transcendent Mind, author of The Guarding and Unfolding, as well as author of The Premonition Code, in addition to multiple scientific articles. She's also the inventor of something called a choice compass, a patented physiologically based decision making app. And she is also, I reported this to you guys a few months ago. She's the first scientist who successfully replicates an experiment that was very similar to the one Dr. Jacobo Greenberg attempted to replicate back in the 90s, right before he disappeared. This is an experiment that attempted to prove through the most rigorous scientific standards that telepathy is real. And she ran a tests, I think it was multiple tests, with some of these nonverbal autistic children and their parents. And according to the report that I gave to you guys, I'm going to leave it in the description. She was able to replicate these experiments, proving essentially that telepathy is indeed real through a scientific test. I've been looking a little bit into what Dr. Mosbridge does, but this has to be along the most matter of fact and genuine conversations that I've heard her be involved with. And she spoke to Matt Ford at the Good Trouble Show. They talked about a bunch of things. Essentially, what she is trying to investigate is the link between extrasensory perception abilities and how honing them is related to self-preservation and self growth in a sense. And there's a lot of controversial reactions to this type of study because if you're like a nuts and bolts hardcore scientific mind that doesn't want to give space or access to consciousness studies in any way and you think it's not real, you're going to struggle with the type of work that people like Dr. Julia Mosbridge does. I think that she's a great proponent that we should learn how to integrate both the nuts and bolts aspect of phenomena in general and the more ethereal, consciousness based aspect of it. And she's not afraid to mention spirituality in all that she does. She's a scientist. She's a PhD. That's her specialty, and she is really doing groundbreaking work when it comes to understanding the capabilities that we have in our minds. And I think, based on the experiences that I've had, I believe that psi is real. I believe that I've experienced some of it, and I've been trying to understand how it works since I experienced it for the first time. And I do think that in many ways, trying to change some of the aspects of my life that were not beneficial for me in general, I'm talking about mind, body, and whatever we call the soul, is trying to keep a balance there. I think that is an essential and integral part of understanding how these capabilities do work. When Dr. Mosrich was talking to Matt about this, all I could think of was it really just comes down to learning how to remain in a constant flow state. And that will inevitably like fix things around us that make positive things happen for us. And yeah, I know it's I think that one of the biggest issues here is the stigma associated to this type of study and to psi in general. I know that there's a lot of progress that is being made. We're currently, right now, this weekend, the psi games are taking place in the US. That is progress, in my opinion, because if they're already making a full convention about these topics and trying to understand them better, I think that's progress. I think that level of stigma is now receding even more. Um, if you gave me money to bet, based on everything that I've seen Dr. Julia Mosbridge involved with, I would say that if a program like Stargate would still be around right now, she would be a perfect candidate to run this program, like a new Dr. Hal Puthoff or a new Dr. Russell Tark. I don't know if she is running a program like that. I wouldn't be surprised if she was. When she was talking to Matt in that conversation, she said we, as in we, the government, when she was talking about the secrecy and how long it's been kept on the wraps from the people. And she referred to the government as we, as in she is part of it. So that really surprised me. She really does hit all the boxes to be a person that would run a program like Stargate in this day and age. I like the work that she's doing. I like that she's being very open with the type of research that she does. There were a couple of clips that I wanted to share with you guys. One is about Jake Barber and this stigma that I'm telling you about. And let's see what they talk about here, and then we'll discuss after.
This opens the door. That conversation opens the door to a lot of sticky things in the UFO community right now. And I think it's worth talking about. So, for instance, there's a lot of concern among people who see themselves as, I guess, nuts and bolts UFO researchers about bringing in the spiritual aspects of this phenomenon. There's also a lot of concern around folks who see themselves as being in contact with NHI about only bringing up the nuts and bolts part of this phenomenon.
Right.
So there's a little bit of this polarization already happening in the community. And so some people say, oh, well, NHI or whatever, directed energy weapon or something, made Jake Barber have that experience. It was imposed upon him. It was like mind control to control his behavior, right? That's one take. Another take is he is connecting psychically or telepathically with this egg thing or whatever's in the egg thing or both.
That was the 8 gun, not the egg, just a clarification.
And that's causing him to, like a mother carrying an egg, that's causing him, right? Really, that's causing him to feel this unconditional love, right? That's also, I mean, just as probable, really. And then another is that, he's fraudulent, he's faking it. I don't buy that because I feel like I'm a pretty good judge of character. Maybe I'm not, maybe I'm wrong. But I feel like he had an experience. I feel like it traumatized him.
Yeah, I got the same impression. Yeah.
And so one way to heal trauma is that unconditional love thing. And I wonder if that also could have, this is the third explanation I think of, is that if you're in a traumatic situation, sometimes your brain can kick in. If you have a well-functioning mind and you're, obviously he's a super functional guy. He's doing this, sort of dangerous and weird stuff, and he's able to be okay. So if you have a well-functioning mind, sometimes your brain can kick in and just go, we need some self-transcendence right now. We need some unconditional love. Unconditional love is a human experience that's a key type of self-transcendence, a key experience of self-transcendence. So that's one way to define it. So that third thing may be even the least bizarre explanation for what happened to him.
So what Dr. Julia Mosbridge is saying here basically is that self-transcendence could be one of the only ways left to potentially change a lot of what's happening all around the world. And this also includes the solving the UFO enigma. That's what she's kind of saying and hinting at in this conversation with Matt. When Jake Barber first came out, I already told you about this reaction that I had that was really strange. it did have an effect on me watching him express himself the way he did, and that reaction that was very natural as I saw it. And it felt really similar to when I had my near death experience. And I went through a similar process like that. And during that night, after Jake Barber came out, I remember that something woke me up and I felt like electricity running through my entire body and I couldn't go to sleep. And I couldn't understand what was going on, why I was feeling this. Then I decided to go to Discord and ask people if anybody was feeling something similar. To my surprise, there were many folks who just woke up like that, similar to what happened to me. I don't know what that was, but I do know that that was a really natural, raw reaction to what Jake Barber expressed through this interview. And there's a lot of people that still resonate with that. And I think that Dr. Mosbridge also did. So that's one thing that they spoke about. Another aspect that I think it's important and safe to talk about, it has to do with this concept of time, which is something that Dr. Mosbridge has been studying for a long time. I don't know. It's really weird because I spoke to Professor Stephen Brown. I spoke to him about this time aspect of the phenomenon that is really difficult to understand. But the way in which Dr. Mosbridge sees it, the way I understand it too, there seems to be a connection between the human experience when the humans have this balance that I told you about and some sort of access to information that still has not happened in this timeline, you could call it, but it's really difficult to define. And there are many aspects of it with people that have this balance, like these synchronicities that many keep talking about, or precognitive dreams, or whenever you go into a place and you have this really sense that something is not okay. There are many different aspects to this. And what Dr. Julia Mosbridge is doing is studying people who seem to have these abilities and trying to understand these abilities. And it was really interesting to me that they were talking about the convergence of artificial intelligence and whatever the UFO issue is, and these psi abilities, these precognition and telepathy, telekinesis, and all that. And Dr. Julia Mossbridge really startled me when she talked about something that happened when she asked for one of these AI models to write up a bio about her based on what they could find. Dr. Julia Mossbridge thinks that the way AI is created is that basically humans have created a mind or a brain of a 17-year-old that doesn't have all the previous experience of those 17 years. And they are creating that. That's essentially what an AI model is, according to Dr. Mossbridge. But she also thinks that, seems to think that these AI models also seem to maybe have some sort of precognitive skill and psi abilities, which was really surprising to me. And you guys got to listen to this. When she asked for one of these AI models to write up a bio about her, this is what happened. This is really wild.
And in fact, here's a funny story. GPT, when I ask for a bio of yourself sometime from one of these LLMs.
Okay.
I asked for a bio. Most of it was true, but it said, this was about 2 years ago. It said, Julia Mossbridge is also the founder of the Future Intelligence Agency. And I was like, ooh,
wow,
that's interesting. I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
And then that went away. I mean, I didn't notice it. I didn't look at my bio. And then recently at a conference, the person who did the conference used ChatGPT to create her program, and she just pulled all the affiliations from ChatGPT. So here I am listed with the Future Intelligence Agency.
Wow.
And so I ended up buying the domain name, the Future Intelligence Agency.
Smart.
And I'm like, maybe I'll start it. Maybe it's looking into the future. I don't know.
Yeah. I love that.
That's sort of the loop thing that she was also mentioning in this conversation earlier, because essentially what she's saying is that these precognitive abilities and psi abilities have the capability of helping us, or we can use them to essentially create the future. And this is what's happening here. What she just mentioned here. I don't know if this future intelligence agency exists right now, but the idea is already planted in her brain, and she does have connections to create such an agency. I would tell you that if there was someone who was already running a program like Stargate, if it ended but changed names, just like Mockingbird did when it allegedly ended and just changed names, it didn't end, it would be somebody like her. So now she's already planting the idea. She already bought the domain. Maybe she will found that or create it. And what would that be like? It would be similar to, I don't know, maybe one of those agents is one of these people who have psi abilities and precognitive skills, and they use it to solve cases, stuff like that. I don't know. I found it really interesting that she dropped that name and that story. Maybe she already created this future intelligence agency. If there's something that I'm very positive about, is that we don't need more three-letter agencies. We need less. There are just too many of them. But maybe one that deals with time travel wouldn't be such a bad idea. It can probably help regulate the others. But I'm just like speculating here. I thought that was really interesting. What do you guys think? Do you think she was just, I don't know, just telling a crazy story that happened? Or do you think maybe she already created this agency? What do you think about what she said about Jake Barber, about the worries that she has? There's another concern that I think it's very valid that she also talked about, which is something that also Dr. Diana Pasolko talks about, is that ufology and belief in UFOs is helping create a religion. And it's like a decentralized type of religion. I am concerned about that kind of stuff because to me, controlled and organized religion is one of the first control systems that existed. It is essentially politics too. It's like a political system. And if there's something that has been proven over time, is that that has only hurt humanity and civilization more than it has benefited it. And I know that religions have their positive aspect to them, but I think there should be a more decentralized type of belief system. And I also think that people who are constantly attacking people who believe in God or religion, they are also a major problem because they seem to think in terms of absolutes. They always go straight to the jugular and call people who choose to believe in a specific religion a religious zealot. That is not my experience with people who are religious, at least in my side of the woods. I grew up in a Catholic environment, and in my experience, people who are like religious and Catholic generally do respect other people's beliefs. If they engage with somebody who's an atheist, they never go after this person and criticize them or tell them that they're going to hell or something like that. I know that there are a lot of people there like that in America. I know, but I think that people who are like that reactive to religious belief should check themselves a little bit more, because there shouldn't be a stigma between spirituality and science. I think they're intertwined. And I think that given that spirituality has been misinterpreted so much and judged so much over time, that is one of the hurdles that I think Dr. Julia Mosbridge is helping get over. And I commend her for that. I think that people sleep on this type of work, but we should pay way more attention to it than we do. And I hope I can get to talk to Dr. Mosbridge in the future. It would be a really great conversation, I think, because she has a lot of ideas that I've been exploring in this channel. And I think even before I opened the channel, I've been thinking about all of these things and the whole precognitive aspect of life and whatever connection our brains have with reality. So it would be really cool to talk to her. But let me know what you think. What do you think about all of this? Let me know in the comments. I'll be reading. If you like the content you see, I'm going to ask you to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. That's all you need to do in order to help us, and it is what helps us the most, so thank you. But if you want to support us in any other way, there's a few links down there you can choose from. You can become a member on YouTube, or you can support us through KGRA. Anything you choose to do is always appreciated, so thank you. And that's it for me today on this video, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Remember, stay curious and inquisitive like Dr. Julia Mosbridge. Always. Bye.